Stripey Empire just teased what's going to be coming in this week's update, and I think I might be able to predict what these vehicles are. But before we do that, make sure to subscribe and drop a like on this video. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, now what they've done is they've sent out a teaser basically showcasing the rear end of some kind of Jaguar, and we also can see they've actually told us what the 4 cars in this week's update are going to be, and we actually are getting a mix of cars, so not just one brand. You might be like, oh, we're getting 4 Jaguars. No, we're actually getting 3 different brands. We're going to be getting 1 Jaguar, 1 Range Rover, a McLaren, and then a McLaren Limited. So 3 brands, 4 cars, 2 McLarens, 1 Range Rover, 1 Jaguar. So let's start with the Jaguar. This is probably the easiest one to, dissect of the bunch since we got a photo of it. So you can see a little RS badge. Now look on this Jaguar, you see that same RS badge. We have spoiler that looks very similar to the one in the image. So I think it's safe to assume that we are getting the coupe version of this vehicle. So right now we have the convertible. You see the top, it can pop off. But obviously, it's cool and all in a convertible form, but I think a coupe will actually look a lot sportier for this vehicle. So I'm pretty happy that they're going to be adding the coupe version. And I think it's safe to say this is exactly what this car is going to be. I mean, it looks identical from taillights, badge, spoiler. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So most likely what it looks like it's going to be is the, where is it? The Jaguar XKR-S coupe instead of convertible. So that's most likely the Jaguar we are getting. Now next up you're gonna see a Range Rover. Now the Range Rover I want to go a little bit more in depth into, because at first thought you might just be like, oh whatever, it's just another Land Rover, but I might be able to predict it. So you see how there's a difference. There's Land Rovers and then there's a Land Rover Range Rover. So we can eliminate any Land Rover vehicles, so it's not gonna be anything like these Land Rovers you see here. It's not gonna be one of those. It's gonna be one of the more luxurious Range Rover models. That's basically their like street car luxury line Range Rover, and then Land Rover's more their off-road line. So we already have this version right here, which has this really cool carbon fiber hood. I really like it, but honestly, this is a bit outdated of a car. We're gonna look at the year. It's a 2021. It's currently 2025. This vehicle, believe it or not, is a 4-year-old car. I know that's crazy to say, but we could use a newer Range Rover in game. So potentially we could be getting the newest Range Rover, the 2025 version of this vehicle, which it's basically a similar body style, but it's got like, a lot smoother lines, a lot more luxurious features to it. So if I were to guess, I would say most likely, since we can narrow it down to Range Rover, if we think about it, we'll probably be getting the newer, more luxurious version of this vehicle. Or you might also have to consider though, since they did the sport version of this older version, maybe they'll do the newer sport version. So there's 2 options. We could get A, the more luxurious brand new Range Rover, or B, the new sportier Range Rover. So I don't know which one's going to be coming to the game. Obviously we don't have a teaser image of that, but stay tuned throughout the week, because maybe they'll be releasing, images every day until the update. I mean, currently I believe it's Wednesday, so we got Thursday, Friday, so we got about 1 day left that they could release a teaser, because I don't think they release teasers the day of the update. I mean, they might, so maybe Thursday, Friday, stay on the lookout. They might tease what these cars could be, but for now I'm predicting, that the Range Rover is gonna most likely be that newer one that I'm talking about. But let's move on to the McLaren. Okay, now moving on to McLaren, this is where things are going to be complicated to predict what car it's going to be. Now, we do have a lot to take in, so let's start off with the magnitude of McLarens in game. Look at this. We have so many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. 26 McLarens. That is one of the most, if not the most, licensed brand in game. What I mean by that is just so many vehicles. Like, it's a licensed brand. Obviously, we have 26 vehicles. That's a lot of cars. So there's not many McLarens left, because you have to consider it. McLaren hasn't been a car manufacturer for that many years compared to other brands. So it's not like they have a ton of old cars that they could just add in randomly. We really are limited to what McLarens we have left to add. And I think I might be able to predict what it could be. So let me explain something. We have the McLaren 7 Series cars. Now you'll see we have the 720 GT3 vehicle, of course. That's kind of like a one-off kind of thing. We're not going to get something similar to that again. This was a Halloween event McLaren, so we know that it's not going to be something like this. But I want you all to look at this. So this is the McLaren 720S Spider. We have the 720S Spider, you can see, because the top comes off, convertible version, duh. Then we have the 720S coupe, so the top does not come off. Now what I want to show you is we have the 765 LT Spider, so this is the version with the 4 exhaust pipes. It's a bit faster, more performance, and we also have the coupe variant of that, so no top coming off. You can see this very slight difference, but it exists. And we have the 750S Spider, right? Look at that. Boom, the 750S Spider right here. But we do not have the 750S coupe. So hear me out. What if the McLaren that's either a limited, I'm feeling like, I don't know, it could be either a non-limited or limited, because obviously you would assume it's a 750S. It would be a non-limited, of course, because that's the normal, right? Wrong, because they might make it a limited, since the only way you can get the 750S Spider is by owning all these McLarens from the collection. So maybe to make it, you know, fair, more like, oh yeah, you know, both versions of the car would be rare, not just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they would want people to still want to get the convertible. So maybe they would do a limited version of the coupe so that people, you know, if you miss out on the coupe, of course, limited, then there's more motivation to go back and get this convertible. You kind of get what I'm saying? It's hard to explain, but basically, I mean, I don't know. They could just end up adding it as a normal version. You can see all the others are normal versions, but it's very possible that we could get a 750S coupe either as the normal car or the limited. I don't know which McLaren it would be as an update, but I feel like that's probably the most likely version of what one of the cars will be. Now, what are the other cars going to be? So I think I might have a prediction for the other McLaren that it could be. Now this next prediction, it could either be normal or limited as well. I'm not too sure because it's a high-end McLaren. But looking at the high-end McLarens in game, we have, let's see, we got all the rare McLarens. Of course, we got, I think, we have a McLaren F1. Here it is. So we have the special McLaren F1. Obviously, I don't know how I couldn't find it in my inventory. We have the McLaren Speedtail. Now, we've already had a special version of the Speedtail, right? So let's see. We have the normal Speedtail in game, and then we have the Speedtail Driving Empire Edition, right? Okay, so that was like a limited car. We have the Senna Driving Empire Edition, which was a special version car. Okay, and then we also have the normal Senna, of course. So very nice, very nice. We got the Solus GT right here. Hear me out. So we also have the Solus GT, like I said, and the P1. But you got to hear me out with this one. So you've noticed that McLaren is letting Driving Empire do these Driving Empire editions to their car. We saw it with the Speedtail and the Senna, right? So we have the special edition Speedtail. So maybe what we could be getting is a special edition of the P1 first off. That's my first thought. Or a special edition of the Solus, which could make sense. So since those two cars are pretty rare, maybe even we could see them touch the F1 a bit, mess it up. I'm gonna say mess it up. I think messing with the F1 to make a special edition, they could mess it up, like adding the weird livery, but it's possible. It's something that they could do. So maybe the Driving Empire Special Livery Edition is the first possibility. Now, the second possibility, it's not as plausible, I would say. I mean, I guess it's possible. It could either be a normal car or a limited car. I'm not too sure. Actually, now that I think about it, though, time out. Back to what I was saying, the Driving Empire Edition car, I don't think that would be a normal car. That would probably be a limited. But the next car I want to talk about being the McLaren W1, the successor to the F1 and P1. So basically, this is the F1 right here. After the F1 came the McLaren P1. And then came along the McLaren W1. The W1 hasn't been added to the game yet, so it can either come as a normal version or a limited version in game, but most likely a normal version car, because honestly, you know, we have the P1 and the F1 as normal cars, not limited, so the W1, it's definitely possible, but I don't really know if they would actually add it. I feel like I remember them mentioning they aren't going to be adding it, so I don't really know, but we'll see. Now, the last possibility for McLaren, like I said, you know, there weren't too many. We only have a few very handful of possibilities that it could be, but the last one being a GTR variant of 3 cars. So we could have a P1 GTR-A. That's the first possibility. You know, we don't have any of the GTR versions, so it's very possible. B, we could have a Senna GTR, so the Senna GTR version. Now, a little bit in depth to the Senna, we could also get the Senna Can-Am or the Senna LM. Both are possible, but probably unlikely. I don't think they would actually add those. But the Can-Am and LM are both like orange special versions. It's very limited. Maybe in the future we'll get them, but for now, I'm thinking Driving Empire would want to add the GTR variants first, so maybe the Senna GTR is possible. And lastly, the McLaren F1. Okay, so right here, we could get the F1 GTR or the F1 Longtail. Both of those are very possible, you know. Like the GTR just had the spoiler, the Longtail was longer a little bit. But I think all those are definitely possible for McLaren. Now, I really want you to comment below though. What do you guys think they're gonna add for the McLarens? I feel like it being realistic here, I think it's gonna probably end up being a 750S. I'm calling it a 750S coupe, and maybe a Driving Empire edition McLaren, or a Senna GTR. I feel like those three, maybe a P1 GTR. Those are the most likely scenarios for McLaren. That's what I'm going to call right now. Comment below, though. Do you agree with my most likely scenarios, or do you think it could be one of the others I listed off? Oh my goodness, we cannot speak today. But yeah, I really don't know which one it's going to be, like, if I'm being dead honest. So I don't know. It's all up to predictions. But that is going to be everything for today's video. I truly hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to drop a like. I would truly appreciate it. Subscribe and the notification bell so you never miss another upload. Check the video on screen here. YouTube thinks to like it, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.